Good morning or good afternoon, perhaps even good evening, wherever you are. I'm Eric Schumacher Rasmussen. I am the editor of Streaming Media and program chair for our streaming media events. Welcome to our 5th Streaming Media Connect. This is, I think, our 12th panel or presentation this week. They're all available on our YouTube channel, or will be soon. You can go to streamingmedia.com and click on videos and then conference videos and find them there. I believe that's the right link. Steve Nathans-Kelly, our producer, will certainly put the correct link in the chat. We're all championing at the bit to get back to in-person meetings, but in the meantime, these have provided a great opportunity for us to connect, educate, share ideas, and learn from each other. And speaking of in-person events, we are planning all systems go for Streaming Media West in Huntington Beach in November. Once again, the link is in the chat for Streaming Media West. If you're interested in getting more information about that, the program is live and we will be adding speakers to that program next week. So keep your eyes open. A couple of housekeeping notes. The live captions and subtitles have been enabled. You may be seeing them on your screen. If you are and you don't want to see them, go to the bottom of your screen, click on live transcript, and then hide subtitles. You can get rid of them that way. Also, if you want to ask questions of any of our panelists, go ahead and type them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, please. That makes it easier for us to keep track of them if they are there, as opposed to being in the chat. Last housekeeping note, we are giving away a $50 Amazon gift card at the end of this and every Streaming Media Connect panel, so stick around for that. You must be present to win, and we'll pick a name from at random from our audience and announce the winner at the end of the hour. I'd like to thank our diamond sponsor for Streaming Media Connect, and that's Limelight Networks. Limelight Networks has sponsored a number of these Streaming Media Connect virtual events, and we appreciate their support. Check out Limelight Networks for edge delivery and content delivery, as well as other video services. I'd also like to thank the sponsor of this panel, and that's Zype. Chris Bassolino from Zype will be joining the discussion when we start talking about monetization models in just a minute. Speaking of which, let's talk about monetization models. Our moderator is Nadine Krefetz, who's a long time. I think, Nadine, we were saying before we went live that you've been writing for streaming media for 6 or 7 years.
That's right.
And you've been moderating at least 2 panels at all of our events for 3 or 4 years now. So
I do. It gives me a chance to talk, which is always fun.
It is. So I am going to pass it over to you to introduce the panels and panelists and dive right in.
Okay, very good. So let's see. I'm just going to go through my list and we'll try, Euan, why don't you come on and we will have you introduce yourself in a second, but I want to bring everyone up. DeShuna from kweliTV. Perfect. And we've got Yolanda from Cinedigm. Chris from Zype. And Eugene from Struum. Perfect. Okay. Now, glad you could all make it. I especially, in fact, am enjoying these conversations because since we're not getting out, at least this gives me a chance to have social interaction with people who have a common theme with me. So, okay, the topic, monetization 2021, fast SVOD, hybrid, and more. Why don't we go, and I'll start with Eugene. Eugene, why don't you tell us what your service is for people who don't know?
Hi, thanks Nadine, and thank you Eric for organizing this panel and pulling us together. It's always fun to actually share with what we're doing here at Struum. So at Struum, we've pulled together an aggregation service where we're pulling in at this point in time 25 services, and we've got 60 different SVOD services under contract that we're trying to get onto the platform as soon as possible. And the goal really is to basically be able to solve and provide a different access model for consumers to get access to the content. Today, it's very much you sign up for a subscription at $2.99, $3.99, and so on and so forth, and start your free trial if it's available. And that's still a pretty heavy barrier of entry, especially if you've got a household that already has 4 to 5 services. We want to basically be able to provide a different option for consumers to basically go after the content, get access to the content. And, at Struum here, what we're doing is providing the ability to actually snack on the content a la carte via a credit model. and soon to basically also be able to actually binge by taking on a subscription. So really balancing between a la carte and your traditional subscription, eat all you can eat type models.
Okay, very cool. And we'll definitely get further into this. I'm going to go to DeShuna next and ask her to introduce herself, or her service, I should say. That way we have an idea what kweliTV is.
Sure. So thanks again for having me. I'm DeShuna Spencer, founder and CEO of kweliTV. We are a streaming service that celebrates global Black stories as well as amplifying global Black storytellers. We have independent films and documentaries. We source most of our films from film festivals. About 65% of our films are award-winning. And Kweli, for those who don't know, is actually a Swahili term. It means truth. And our whole mission is to create content that shows a true representation of the global Black experience.
Okay, very cool. Let's go next up, and I'm just going in the order of what I'm seeing people, is Euan. So Euan, we know your company, but why don't you just give us a little bit of insight into it anyway?
Sure, yeah. So my name is Euan McLeod. I'm the Vice President of Customer Experience Engineering at Hbo Max. First of all, I've worked in streaming media since year dot, probably a little bit like Eric and yourselves, probably about 20 years in news, sports and entertainment. So I've been there, I've had my own company, I've worked for a medium-sized company. Now I'm working for a global company. Hbo Max is obviously a streaming service, streaming platform that offers SVOD and an AVOD product domestically. We just launched in Latin America. We're launching in Europe in the next 2 months. We're really going global. Obviously, Hbo Max is a major production studio and platform that offers the world's best content. So we've got the world's best storytellers, no question. You know, the people like Patty Jenkins for Wonder Woman, Hugh Jackman. We just relaunched Reminiscence last week, another great movie. HBO Max is about offering customers choice. So, you know, we're releasing huge blockbuster movies directly to consumers. The SVOD price is $14.99 a month. And we also now have an AVOD offering, so an ad-supported offering for $9.99 a month. We have different pricing in different markets depending on our content. We have specific content in some markets, like in Brazil and Mexico. Right now, we've got a UEFA Champions League soccer or football game on, streaming live. So we have content rights and content in specific markets to meet what our customers want. We're very customer obsessed. I think that's an important thing for us. We're really passionate about our customers and reaching our customers on a global scale. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to bring the world's best storytellers and tell the best stories. So, you know, our content speaks for itself. We win Emmys. I think we won more Emmys. We definitely won more Emmys than any other streaming platform or streaming service. I think we've got 35 Emmys. An interesting thing that I'll just add, it's like during COVID, we even produced some amazing content under very strict conditions. Like if you've probably heard of White Lotus, which was filmed in Hawaii in a specific hotel in a 2.5-month, 3-month period with everyone sort of isolated. Selena and Chef was produced sort of remotely with the chef with Selena Gomez. We've had real hit shows like Mayor of Easttown, Kate Winslet, Suicide Squad, you know, Denzel Washington. I mean, the content speaks for itself. We create probably the world's best environments or world building for, you know, dragons and, you know, Lovecraft Country, Misha Green. I mean, we've got the best of the best. We're obviously going global. And I love what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do because I probably work for one of the best companies in the world. So
okay. Now, I'm not going to say that Euan is the best and the rest of you guys aren't. So I'm going to be the.
I love that you have this panel because we've got, you know, some interesting, you know, content that's maybe, you know, targeted at certain parts of the market with some entrepreneurial, hardworking people, and then we've got the opposite end of the extreme, which is like massive, you know, $100 million, $150 million movie budget. So it's great to hear the other perspectives. I'm looking forward to hearing about that.
Okay, absolutely. And I promise not to pick on you too much just because you're a very large corporation. Anyway, Cinedigm. Tell us, Yolanda, what Cinedigm is and what you are involved with.
Sure. Hard to follow that. But yes, I'm good afternoon or good morning, wherever you're at. My name is Yolanda Macias. I'm the Chief Content Officer for Cinedigm. Also run digital sales and marketing, oversee the marketing team. Cinedigm is a premier independent streaming company of channels and content. And our channels are are focused on what some people may call niche audiences. We refer to them as enthusiasts, desiring deeper content offerings. So like Euan said, there's certain services out there that do have the best of the best, but we're focused on certain categories or genres where audiences are underserved and want deeper content. And with that, we offer it supported by our proprietary tech named Matchpoint, can power hundreds of channels. Currently, we have 22, of which 8 are owned and operated. And just to give a little flavor of those channels, because we do support all business models, AVOD, SVOD, and linear. And we're huge fans of FAST for various reasons that we can get into later. But, you know, we have Docurama for the documentary lover. We have Fandor for the independent film enthusiasts, and Screenbox and Bloody Disgusting for horror and thriller.
All right, very cool. And last but not least, Chris, tell us about you and Zype, or I should say, tell us about what Zype does, because I know the name, but I don't have a full kind of understanding as to what it is you offer.
Sure. Yeah, and excited to be here, Nadine. My name is Chris Bassolino. I'm EVP of Sales at Zype. We provide video streaming infrastructure that includes things like transcoding, a very flexible CMS, a robust set of APIs, OTT app packages, playout and linear, and then a CRM, which really supports a wide range of different monetization models.
Okay, very cool. And I think one of the things that is interesting is you've all brought up the kind of briefly what your monetization models are, but I'm going to get you to kind of describe a little bit more in depth as to why you chose that and what it means to you as you run your business. Now, DeShuna, we're going to go with you first. And I think that, you know, one of the things I'm interested in is, especially since, you know, you're running this business, is how do you decide on this model?
Sure. So right now, our main model is SVOD. And so the reason I decided to go that route is because before I started kweliTV, I had an online magazine and I was all in the ad space. And, you know, because the way the advertising space is now, especially with, I think I really say like Google and Facebook controls such a huge amount of the advertising dollars, I felt that starting a company solely on advertising may not be the best bet since we were still trying to grow our audience, right? You need a real big audience in order to really go into the AVOD space, at least, you know, for our niche market. And so we also wanted to test the market too to see if people actually wanted, you know, our niche content. And so having it as SVOD, like, will people actually pay for this, was something that was really important to us as well. When I initially started kweliTV, we had like a cheaper version, like our beta version, just to kind of test the waters, see if people liked our content. And then from there, we did customer feedback. We asked customers, you know, what will you pay? We had different price ranges, and customers sort of said, you know, they're between $4.99 and $6.99. So we ended up going with $5.99 just based off of, you know, what customers were looking for. And that's kind of how we initially got our initial revenue model. Over time, we have noticed that AVOD has changed quite a bit. Like Euan said, that they're looking to do sort of a hybrid. That's something we're actually looking to do now. We're actually going to be adding a hybrid model, a little bit cheaper than a $5.99 that will be ad supported. And we also do have a fast channel, that's linear channel that we stream that has advertising as well as ad supported. And so we are looking to diversify our revenue models. From what we were initially doing when we first started the company. I think that anyone who's in this business knows that you have to reach people where they are. And so we're starting to learn that just from, you know, user feedback and surveys, that some people, even though $5.99 is not that expensive, especially for the Black community, COVID really did a number on our community, and a lot of people lost their jobs. And so for us, we've been trying to figure out how can we keep our community well, and by having different models like the hybrid we're looking at, and then enhance our fast channel and add even more fast channels, we think that's going to be the way for us to go in the future.
Okay, and that sounds a very interesting business approach, just because you obviously haven't put all your eggs in one basket. Now, when you mentioned your fast channel, you're not showing everything on fast, right? You're just showing part?
Yeah, so right now we rotate about 20 titles a month on our fast channel. And the way our platform works, we do a revenue share. So our filmmakers get a percentage of our ad revenue per quarter for that fast channel. But yeah, right now we're rotating like 20 titles.
Okay, all right, very cool. Let me go over to Eugene. Now, Eugene, give us a little bit more insight into how the business model works, I should say.
Absolutely. So I think the flexibility is the key when it comes to monetization. I mean, we're really a little bit more mature today with the amount of SVOD services that are out there in the market. And, I think the entire industry is definitely pivoted away from the one size fits all kind of offering. Earlier on, as SVOD was progressing, it was a price point and really unlimited access to the content based on that price point on a monthly perspective. And the realization is, even if I'm giving you the greatest library out there, everyone's limited by time. And so at some point in time, there's a realization that, hey, the one size doesn't fit all. It could very well be variable viewing that could be much more popular in the evenings or the weekends. And yet, the offerings are still rather static. So we took a slightly different approach to kind of go, hey, is there space within the marketplace to actually provide lighter onboarding ramps? How do we drive acquisition without basically stating that your only option today to get to that piece of content is sign up for a subscription, start your free trial, and it's now and forever. And I think everyone knows that, even if you're chasing the shows, you're coming in, you're binging, and, after you're done with that particular show, there's a lull in terms of the usage, but the offering itself is still rather static. So, Struum, we wanted to actually look at other onboarding ramps to be able to provide users truly solve the access to the content, and essentially give the users the ability to discover the content at a much more manageable commercial offering. And so that's when we actually brought in the usage of credits. Now, relatively quickly, clearly, the credit model is not the be all and end all. If you do like a certain content, and we've been really lucky to actually partner with Yolanda at Cinedigm to bring quite a few of the channels over onto Struum. And so if you're a great documentary enthusiast and you absolutely know you're going to get great use of it, of course, please sign up directly with Cinedigm. But if you're a little bit unsure, but you want to discover and you think this intrigues you, Struum provides that alternative to actually come on board, explore the show. It's up to us to then say, hey, let's get you engaged with Cinedigm's content. Let's actually make sure that you're going to be able to have a right priced offering to actually complete the season. And if you're actually that engaged with the content, obviously be able to move you into a subscription, because we don't want nickel and dime the consumers with just credits. If they're going to be utilizing a fair bit of docurama, at some point in time, it could be well worth for them to just take on the subscription. And we want to make that process as seamless and frictionless as possible.
So how does the credits work? Say I want to watch something, what do I do?
So today at $4.99, you get 100 credits, and essentially all the content that's actually on the platform has a credit value. And essentially it's just a redemption, and you'll have the ability to watch and rewatch the content within a 30-day window.
Okay, got it. All right. And I'm going to go over to Yolanda, since, especially since you guys do business together. Yolanda, why don't you kind of give us some more insight into your business and your channels, I should say.
Sure. So, you know, as I mentioned, we have 22 channels now. We're going to continue to expand that, but our channels are very focused on a very identifiable market, very specific, passionate audiences. So we don't dictate the business model. We allow the demand, the consumer, to tell us how they want to engage, how they want to experience content. With that said, we are real fans of FAST because it allows for the sampling, the exploration, the ability to bring people in if it's a subscription service or not. Some people are willing to pay a premium for an SVOD experience and others are not. So it really is dependent on that specific channel and the demographic qualities of that audience.
Okay. Are there, I should say, what lends itself more to FAST versus another format?
Well, many times it's what that audience has been used to. So many times it is, you know, a demographic quality. Maybe a younger audience is used to, you know, a Gen Z has been at Cord Never and is expecting a free ad-supported services. Or it could be, we just launched Real Madrid. So for that passion soccer fan has been used to viewing free advertising-supported television, linear on a cable operator, satellite, or now through streaming. So it really is, again, back to the demand, back to the consumer and how they want to engage.
Okay, all right. There is so much content out there in the world. I have a hard time keeping up with everybody's service and offerings. Now, FAST, I think Euan, you or somebody from your company mentioned to me, do you have some FAST content? Is that how it's working now?
I don't know if so first of all, FAST stands for Free Ad Support TV. I don't know if everyone knows that. So we have what we call a free limited experience, which allows potential customers the chance to take a sneak peek at the platform and our catalog. So for example, you can watch, again, probably the world's best content, like an hour-long episode of Raised by Wolves, fantastic show, by the way, one of my favorite shows, by Ridley Scott, which is an amazing talent, for free. So you basically download the app, you get best-in-class programming, so they get to sort of sample the product before subscribing or committing.
Okay.
So I don't know if you'd call it FAST, but it's definitely a limited free experience. And it's just an avenue for people to really forge a relationship with our brand, our servers, our platform.
Are there ads within the free content?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, we have. It's ad supported for sure. And on the advertising, obviously we have AVOD, and everything we do is focused on the customer. And no matter how we ask, any question you ask, we always start with the customer and work backwards.
Okay.
Somebody coined that term, but that's definitely what we do. So we're also serving very relevant, targeted ads, limited ads on our platform. So we are known as a brand as high quality experience. So we want to still provide a high quality experience, limited commercials that are targeted to provide the best possible experience. And that extends to our limited free offering. But there's a lot of content there. You probably get more free, amazing content there than other places, but I don't think we would call it FAST per se.
True enough. Okay. And you know, the acronyms that we use in the industry, I've gotten used to them, but the FAST acronym, I think, has been probably the carryover since when people were used to watching TV in a more traditional setting. But, you know, one of the things I'm interested in is, Chris, since you are providing a technology service, has FAST been something that you have seen a lot of requests for in your business?
It has, yes. And we've been doing playout or linear for about 2 years now, but just recently launched a Playout 2.0 service, which has been focused on a much more kind of robust scheduling experience for fast with different connectors. And the engagement that we've seen over the past 2 years has really just been explosive as, almost every TV OEM manufacturer has either launched or is in the process of launching these services. And being that it is curated, there's only a certain number of channels on there. So if you're able to get those content partnerships in place, there's a huge amount of viewership that's there for the taking.
Okay. All right. So let's move a little bit away from FAST as a thing to, how you're doing outreach to your viewers. And I think we had some conversations when we did our planning calls about how people are kind of engaging with their customers or their potential customers. Eugene, why don't I go to you first and ask you about, you set up this business kind of as a different model, but what do you do for outreach to the customers?
We're still in the preview stage at this point in time, but definitely the outreach to the customers is two-part. One, we're building a awareness for Struum. We're starting that process right now. Clearly, we're going to double down on that as we actually have platform parity. But also, we're really leaning into our partners. At the end of the day, they've got phenomenal content. And, rather than just having Struum deal with that outreach by ourselves, the ability to actually take on 60 channels and have that flexibility to actually offer the content on an aggregation platform, it really allows us to actually leverage our phenomenal partners. From another outreach perspective that we want to implement within the platform relatively shortly is to be able to handle social and word of mouth. I think, with COVID, it was rather interesting. Everyone's stuck at home and we're like, oh my God, hey, it's like, what are we watching? It's like, I think earlier on in COVID, everyone realized that, hey, keeping tigers in your backyard is not the best idea as a pastime, but, it was in the zeitgeist. And for the very few people around the virtual water cooler that doesn't have access to the content, it's, your typical conversations, oh my God, you have to watch this. And let me create a profile for you and log in. And that's not a really, that's just not a great experience whatsoever for the content owners, nor is it for the viewers itself. And we feel there is great flexibility within the credit model to actually go, Nadine, I want you to watch this show. Here's a couple of credits from my stash. You should watch it. And having the ability to actually drive that social engagement, to be able to share access and in a meaningful and also in a, something that doesn't steal from the content partners is critical. And I think, that's something that we want to do at Struum to really kind of allow consumers to actually share the content within their circle of friends outside of just your household, to say, oh, hey, here are 4 profiles that you can have. How do I actually be able to provide access and let our consumers do the job for us?
I love that. I especially love it because I'm frequently sending articles to friends from a newspaper that you need a subscription to read. And I don't find out until later that they can't even read the stuff I sent to them.
Absolutely. So, nothing better than going like, watch this on me, and let's talk about it.
That's a very cool approach.
It seems like a really smart model. Are you finding that the gifting of additional credits are helping to drive ongoing consumer acquisition?
I think, Chris, we're still working on that feature. So, we'll definitely share that with you, but, it's our gut sense that, the ability to actually be able to provide access is something that's lacking today. We know it happens. It's just, it's that conversation where when you log into Netflix and you see 9 profile squares and the only person paying for it's the first square. Right. So there's got to be other ways around to tackle it that's actually fair and just to both the content partners as well as to the consumers. And I think the consumers are willing to pay if you give them the right price and you're giving them the right value for what they're searching for. And that's the trick. It's not a one size fits all. It's just being able to have that flexibility. For folks which actually are fine with a fast ad-supported tier, phenomenal. It should be there. And for those which are actually more critical about time, and are willing to spend X amount, we got to figure out what that X amount is and how to get them that product.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Now, DeShuna, we talked a little bit also about, there was actually kind of two questions that came up in here. So one of them was, how are you doing outreach to viewers? And then the second question really, which we're going to talk about next, which you can always talk to as well, is the social community feature.
Yeah, so for us, starting from scratch, like how do we get people to know we exist and you're a new company? And so for us, we really just use social media as our first mechanism to reach customers. And so it's basically in two prongs. Initially, we use social media as a way just for people to know we existed. And so targeted, for us, we have since we have a very niche market, we're highly targeted in the people we reach out to on social media. So people look for independent Black films, people who like certain films or certain actors and certain actresses or certain directors, certain festivals that we know that our audience will more likely be. And so using those initially was a really great way for at least our niche market to know we existed. And then from there, as we start to grow our audience, then we start to sort of tailor that as you on social media. Anyone who does social media advertising, you can even do a deeper dive to say, okay, who are the ones who are more likely to actually purchase this, who are more likely to subscribe? And so since we're still fairly new and some people still don't know we exist, we literally have two different ads that we have on social media. One is really about awareness and the other one is really about conversion. And that's one of the ways we have outreach. Another way is really building up our email distribution list. I don't think social media is going away, but I am one of those people who kind of freaked out to think that the only way we can reach the audience is through Instagram. And so for us, really building up our email distribution list, letting people know the content that we have, having links, telling people, hey, share our newsletter with others has really, really helped us grow. And whenever we send out a newsletter, we always see new subscribers, even though you would think that, people sometimes want to see something. It takes them a while to see a bunch of emails over and over again to make the decision to actually make that purchase. And so we definitely see email distribution another amazing way. And you mentioned community, right? And so for us, for kweliTV, it's really more than just a transactional type of approach where you watch a film, you leave, and that's it. We really want to build a community around kweliTV. And so we've had events before COVID, like a lot of people, we had these events in different cities. We had like a 6-city tour in 2019. It was brunch and mimosas with short films. And we had filmmakers in different parts of different cities who were local would come in, meet our content creators, would meet our customers over drinks in short films and discussion. And it was another great way to build community. We've done some of those things virtually, since we've been in COVID, but we've learned that people share that information. Like, oh, wow, this is amazing. This is an exclusive event only for kweliTV subscribers. So I want to definitely be a part of this. And so that's another way, this community building, having mechanisms in person and virtually to connect customers. And finally, Eugene mentioned word of mouth. We've gotten a tremendous amount of customers that way. We did a survey last year asking customers how they're more likely to find us, and 20% of them said through word of mouth. And so we dig deeper, and we learned that, especially for our international audience, they're using WhatsApp and other mechanisms to share kweliTV to their friends, to their family members, and that's how we were growing our subscriber base. And so word of mouth to me is really tremendous. And one of the things we've been looking to do is expand that with our ambassadors program and giving our ambassadors actually referral links. We know exactly how people are finding us. So it's not just having a survey, but really looking at data to see, okay, who's really able to make those conversions through whether it's our ambassadors program or even through our events.
Okay. You know, I mean, I think one of the things that sounds interesting is that we've taken the streaming that from more of a one-way environment into a more of a kind of a two-way, I should say, or interactive, which of course the people who have WebRTC love because it's a fast delivery of something, but that's a kind of different panel that we won't go into right now. So the social is very interesting to me. It's also, I think, very relevant, especially when it comes to driving viewers and driving kind of engagement. I'm going to get back to that question again, I think, because we haven't really fully extinguished the kind of information that's there. But Euan, you know, what do you want to kind of throw into this mix? Is there something that you feel is interesting that you can add?
I don't know if it's interesting. I guess the challenge answering this question is that we've got sort of an unparalleled collection of programming. So we've got iconic brands like HBO, Warner Brothers, DC, Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, Turner Classic Movies. They in themselves as brands have got massive, well-oiled, premium sort of marketing, advertising, social media mechanisms. So I think the huge advantage we have is when we did the Friends reunion, for example, the talent themselves reach out in social media. They, you know, the talent want the it's just part of the, I think we are like a cultural touch point, I would say, because we are kind of in the conversation already. Where we have new shows or, you know, original content that people have maybe not heard of, it's just the regular, I would say, proven method that these massive brands are very good at. So I think an interesting part of it might be, you know, party watch or group watching.
Group watching.
AirPlay that Apple just announced we're going to be one of their first partners, not surprising. And then, you know, how you share content with people and watch together under, you know, conditions where people are probably more remote than they were prior is interesting. And then for Eugene, I mean, if you can gift that and watch it with them, that would be an interesting thing.
Yeah. It definitely is. It sounds like something. I mean, I think it's also engaging because the thing is that it gives people the ability to kind of get an insight into something that they wouldn't have previously. Excuse me. No, Yolanda, what about you? You've got kind of the, you know, model where you're doing a few different things, but what do you find has really resonated with, you know, your distribution?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people on the panel already mentioned some of those things. So beyond, again, because our channels are very targeted, very identifiable audiences, it's easier to find them through PR or events or social. And there's different social, right? For Dove, which is a faith and family friendly channel, we're not going to be necessarily on TikTok, but we will be on Facebook. And then there's just, you know, your targeted traditional media. But what's important is once they come to our channel, the community is really important to keep that experience fresh and engagement strong. We love it when our partners like Struum also are creating community. You know, we would love that all day long. So really grateful for that. But our community is very channel specific. So for example, with Dove, that is, you know, very important consideration for an audience for Dove is the safety of that content. We have a way for the user to engage with a tool within the channel to monitor the level of, not only has it been endorsed by the Dove organization that it's safe for your family, but it also gives the user the ability to monitor the level of violence and language and nudity and other factors that are important for their home. With Fandor, which is for the independent, you know, lover, you know, like DeShuna said, we can reach them through festivals, right? But once they come in, we want to provide more than just offering films and TV series. We want them to listen through our podcast, or we have now the ability to allow for filmmakers to submit their films for consideration to put on the channel. We also have a tool called Keyframe, which is an editorial piece, a digital publication that discusses the films, reviews the films, interviews filmmakers, really allows for that interactive community.
Okay. You know, it's interesting. I've been listening to you guys and we only have 20 minutes left, so I want to continue to talk about a bunch of different things. But I mean, the social and community features, I think, is something that, like I said, has not been something that when I think about business, I don't necessarily think about the social features, but it sounds like all of you guys are really driving those to help your businesses. Now, Chris, have you seen, do your customers specifically request certain social features, or how are they thinking about things?
Yeah, usually most of the social and community features and functionality happen outside of the services that we provide, but certainly for kind of high affinity audiences, you see a lot of those communities and the sharing of content and information and things like that. And I think that goes into a lot of what Yolanda was talking about, where you really have people that are passionate about certain topic areas or content.
Okay. And I just see this as so much more of a growth area. Now, I have two things to bring up. One is, while I ask the next question, if you guys as panelists want to think about questions you have for each other, do so, and then if we can get to them. I'm going to read an audience question. This is from Michael Barron, and he says, where does pay-per-view for special individual events, concerts, latest show releases fit into the models being discussed, or does it fit anymore? So pay-per-view strikes me as still a very valid business model. What do you guys think? Anyone want to kind of, weigh in here on this?
I can start maybe, because I think we as HBO Max have a very interesting perspective. Others may have large day-and-day theatrical releases where they've obviously paid hundreds of millions to produce the content, and they may do a pay-per-view event even though it's part of a subscription. We want to grow our subscribers. We want to give our subscribers the best value for money, and obviously we've chosen to put 20 really big budget movies. I think the next Matrix movie is coming out on the platform June. We just did Reminiscence. They're part of the $14.99 per month. So I guess in theory we could have released that as a pay-per-view. But at the end of the day, we want to give our customers the opportunity to access all the content I mentioned, from Cartoon Network to Adult Swim. So to get them onto the platform and get them engaged with our service, then they see the benefits of all the other stuff. So their kids can watch Cartoon Network or whatever the other genre of content is. So we've got a very broad sort of reach of content, and there's something for everybody. So we use that as an opportunity to get people into the platform or into the service.
Right.
Maybe, depends on your perspective again, and everyone's going to have a different perspective. A pay-per-view event would just be one thing that somebody pays for and then leaves, I think. So, yeah. I think certain events or certain sporting events probably are more probably advantageous to do pay-per-view. Like, I guess UFC would be a specific thing.
Right. I've heard of them. So
what would UFC benefit from by doing something different? Do their fans want other types of content, or are UFC fans just singularly focused on that type of thing? That's probably relevant. So it just depends on what you have in your catalog, what you're trying to achieve. So that's an interesting topic, just between other major OTT providers.
It is, and I think what the issue is that probably the ROI on pay-per-view is really challenging for businesses, and anybody can chime in here, but I think that one of the things that a pay-per-view event needs is a lot of marketing, right? So do any of you find that that pay-per-view is something that you focus on?
So
this is Eugene. Go ahead.
Go, Eugene. You can go first.
Okay, Eugene first, then DeShuna.
Thanks. I mean, definitely event-based, time-based events, sports, definitely something within the pay-per-view, model that makes it very interesting. I think the alternative again today is you look at a sports-based service and there are relatively high entry points outside of ESPN Plus to basically be able to get access to a particular show. Now, are there any other alternatives out there in the market? That's where we feel again Struum has the ability to actually kind of provide some variability to it, and not just within the event itself. If you're late tuning in, should you pay the same amount for the event if you're just watching the final quarter, or if you're looking at a season pass from NFL, playoffs from MLB, they're extremely high in terms of the entire buy-in. And it doesn't take into account the fact that if you're coming in a little bit late, you may not watch the initial season, or you're actually only in the playoffs. And again, there isn't any form of variability to it. So we feel that that's a space that should be explored from a monetization standpoint. That is something that, we feel that there's definitely a great opportunity. And again, not just necessarily for sports, but concerts, and access. And I think, prior to starting up Struum at Disney, basically having the pre-release of the movies day and date, the ability to actually get access to it first for $19.99 or $24.99, having those variabilities is important. If people are willing to pay for it, whether it's early access or for time or for partial access, we should let the market dictate itself.
Okay. So there's the free market point of view on that. Now, DeShuna, what about the pay-per-view for within your business?
Yeah, so it's not a huge line item as far as monetization, but we have test wires with a couple of pay-per-view events. One of the things we've done is, for instance, let's say there's a new season of a show that's come out. What we'll do is we'll have a pay-per-view event that is free if you're a subscriber, but if you're not a subscriber, you pay like a fee to watch it with like a Q&A with the filmmaker afterwards. We've gotten some success with that, where people are really engaged, interested in those type of events. We've also done events where, and I guess because we're such a niche market that it really works for us, but we've had organizations reach out to us, especially like during Black History Month or Black Music Month, and say, hey, we really like this film on your platform and we can't find anywhere else unless we go to a festival. Can we, have an event around this film, and can you invite your filmmaker? And so we've done quite a few events like that where we'll, reach out to the filmmaker, set it up with that organization, and that organization will have their team members or whoever's a part of that group watch content that's private, that's no one else can watch it. And so we've done things like that, especially I would say after everything happened with George Floyd. We definitely had a lot of people reach out to our company wanting to understand the Black experience more. And we have a lot of documentaries. It's actually our #1 genre on kweliTV, our documentaries. And so we really hone in on that and lean into that content. And we've been able to get partnerships with organizations. And also, I think, for us, we just want to be as fluid as possible when it comes to reaching customers. And so every single title on kweliTV you can watch, you can rent it for 24 hours. I know that's not the business model a lot of people are doing, but I actually get frustrated. I want to watch something on another platform and I only can subscribe to it. Like, I just want to watch a film that I may not want to subscribe. And for us, we know that some customers, while they may not want to commit or marry to kweliTV, but they may see a couple of titles that they like, and we may not get money for them every single month. We may get something for them every single quarter. It's better than getting nothing at all. And so for us, our goal is to really be diversify our offerings as much as possible and meet our customers where they are. So if it's them watching a movie that's pay-per-view every other month, or it's them coming in watching, participating in one of our events, then that's for us, we're still building a community. And our hope is that once they start renting more content, they will say, wait a minute, I rented 3 films this month, I might as well subscribe. And so that's sort of how we're looking at the pay-per-view model.
Okay. Now, I think what's interesting here is that you all are talking about models that, previously we haven't necessarily focused on a lot. And the partnership model, I think, is one of the great ones that I hear from people. And, you know, but I think I also am very interested in kind of finding out about, from the tech point of view, Chris, what happens when someone says, I want to try out this kind of thing? Like, you know, can you, is it hard to support? Is it easier to support? You know, what happens?
Sure. Yeah. So today, Zype supports advertising, subscription, multi-tiered subscription, purchase, rental, redemption codes. But those are things that are available through the platform, kind of with toggle switches. The underlying infrastructure, though, has APIs which are available that really allows the flexibility for product teams to be able to innovate. So there's an entitlement system that has a consumer and a model for entitlements where, you know, somebody would be able to implement kind of the Struum model with a credit-based system, or any kind of hybrid model where you have maybe multi-tier subscription and advertising. So we really developed it in a way that was undetermined because we didn't know where the market was going to go. And we've kind of built some of those features and functionalities directly into the platform, but then really allow teams to be able to kind of innovate and take it where they want to go and where the market is going.
Yeah, I see that definitely as one of the key things, is being able to have the technology to support the innovation that you're doing. I think we have to wrap it up. Unfortunately, we could continue talking about this forever, but I want to ask the panel one last question. And that is, what's the favorite thing that you have seen? That it's either in your own programming or in somebody else's, but one feature that you see that you think is really engaging you to continue, you know, watching and viewing. And I'm going to go to Yolanda first and kind of just get her to identify in one sentence. Can you pick something, Yolanda?
Yes, I would say I'm really hooked on Ted Lasso's on Apple TV, that series, but also our own Bob Ross channel. I can play that in the background and just chill as I'm going through my day.
Okay, and the feature, so essentially, is it the kind of the instruction that you like from the Bob Ross channel?
Oh no, have you watched Bob Ross? It's a very calming, you know, either the audio or the way he paints. It's a calming climate for.
Okay, I thought he taught painting, but okay,
He
I
does.
have not.
He does. It is instructional.
Okay, all right, excellent. All right,
It's
Chris, how about you? What's the one thing that you see that kind of is engaging for you feature wise?
Sure, I'd say it's nothing incredible, but just, you know, my watch list, because sometimes you're on a service that has such a massive library. I might find something and I almost forget that it's even there. So I have a strong habit of really adding things to my watch list so that I can go back and follow that series.
Okay, I think that's incredibly important, especially as people get older, to have watch lists. DeShuna, how about you? What's a feature that you really like?
Yeah, so if a platform has it, I really like the live chat feature. I actually like, you know, engaging with people who are watching something the same time I'm watching, whether I know them or not. Did you see that? You know, so I actually enjoy sort of chatting with people when I'm watching content. So that would be my feature.
All right. Euan, what things do you like?
I love Ted Lasso as well. I know that's on another platform, but it was and is created by Warner Brothers. You'll see that at the beginning. I don't feature-wise. Well, first of all, I'm not just saying this because I work at HBO Max, but a really powerful story is as simple as that. It's a powerful story, and I'm really drawn to like stories like, you know, The Hero's Journey, Joseph Campbell, or just a story about something that I feel is important, like, I don't know, the opioid crisis or whatever it might be. You know, we've got shows about, it's called The Crime and Essential, about opioids. So those types of stories, that's what draws me in. And just that, and in terms of feature, just something that works consistently really well without any interruption. It's kind of simple.
All right. All right. Eugene, we're going to let you say the last word here. Thing that you think is engaging.
I think with this long drawn out, restrictions, definitely social co-viewing is definitely important, just to basically be able to engage across family, friends. We're also extremely thrilled to actually bring Bob Ross to Struum soon. I mean, all of us could use a little bit of a mental break and some calming influence with his paintings. So, definitely those are things I'm looking forward to.
The value in that programming keeps giving. And so, I mean, I think that's everything. That's something that every one of you would
He's having a revival. I mean, when he's on a Mountain Dew TV ad, it's definitely a revival of sorts.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I wrote about him and on Twitch a long time ago, and it's good to see that it's still there. So I guess content that people resonate with just sticks around. That's all we have time for. Thank you so much, everyone. I don't know that we answered the questions, but we definitely looked into a lot of the different monetization models. I don't think there's a best one right now, but I think that you all had such interesting input that I will more than happy to continue following this conversation up. Thank you all. And Eric, I want to hand it back to you.
I'll take that as my cue to put my Ted Lasso scarf on. AFC Richmond.
Believe, Eric.
You had to go find that.
The curious one is here. Exactly. Thanks so much. That was a terrific discussion. Really enjoyed it as always. Thanks to all our panelists and all of our attendees. And speaking of attendees, we do have a winner. And the winner of the Amazon gift card is Bill Leakey. So Bill, keep an eye out on your email for more information about that. Thank you very much to Zype and Chris Bassolino for sponsoring this panel. And thanks again to Limelight Networks for sponsoring all of Streaming Media Connect. We will be back at 4 p.m. Eastern to wrap things up with a big picture discussion looking at the future of OTT, talking about the technology, the monetization, all of it. So I hope to see at least some of you there then. Thanks again.
Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.